producers will always tell you, well, you got to turn in a first draft that's like a third draft. Like, you got to have it like really, really there.
Totally.
But like, there's a kind of unrealistic expectation of writers to like deliver their first draft with no studio notes.
There's one thing I want to discuss.
What
popped into my mind? It's one thing I've been thinking about the other day, and
Yeah,
it's
great.
it's kind of process based. It's not necessarily business based.
Process based is fine.
Yeah.
I mean, the process can be also business related.
Yeah, but it's about what you do when you don't know what to do next in a project. Let's say you get stuck and you don't know the answer to a note, to a question.
Okay.
And we have had, and I think experiences this year of projects where we've gone, oh, it's difficult. And rather than sitting with the uncomfortability of it, just going, oh, that's not right. I'm not going to do that right now. And then ultimately, in those particular cases, somewhat dropping the projects for the time being. We're actually discussing bringing one of them back at the moment. But it's just one of those things, isn't it? About kind of going, you get to a point and you go, what is this? And it can feel uncomfortable not knowing the answer.
Yeah.
Not knowing the thing that happens next.
Sure.
And sometimes that is your unconscious mind going, this isn't there yet.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's that.
This is not good.
There is, this isn't good. This isn't the right idea.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think it's just work to get to that idea. And it's interesting. Again, I talked briefly yesterday about what I'm listening to at the moment, listening to it while I paint my models. For those of you who want to see my little painting desk, it's behind me there. There you are. That's what I'm doing. And I like to listen to audiobooks, so I do that. And Stephen King in On Writing talks about the fact that sometimes writing is like shoveling shit. In that he means it's work.
Right.
It's work.
I have a question for you that's going to bring it to our theme of talking about business.
Yes.
What do you do when that same thing happens, but you're being paid?
And that is a very good and difficult question to answer.
It is.
Because, I mean, in one sense, it's good that you're being paid.
Of course.
Because you have to come up with an answer.
Wait, you mean it's not just good because you can pay your bills?
It's not just good because you can pay your bills. It's good because you are in a situation where you have to come up with an answer. Because if you don't, you're not doing your contractually obliged work. Sure.
But do you think that the answer in those situations, and this is a big question, but you hear about people dropping off various projects in their careers at times, writers, directors, actors, for what they tend to call creative differences. A lot of times that's like, wink, wink, we fired them. But a lot of times also, and we know of people that have done it, and you've mentioned it before, it's because they just were like, I can't do this. And so I wonder, and I don't have the answer, is it better to tell your employer, I'm stuck. I don't think I'm going to be able to deliver the best quality thing here. Or is it better to shovel the shit onto the page and deliver what may not be great, but at least it's delivered?
Yeah. I think it's a really difficult answer, isn't it?
I mean, no one ever wants to disappoint, but I guess the question is, which is worse? To shit the bed on a script that you are getting paid good money for, they then have to pay you for that and it's unusable, or come clean and say, I'm going to walk away.
Yeah, we did a movie. It was a TV movie a few years ago. And we sold this as a pitch, and the direction and the notes we got pushed it in a direction that perhaps we wouldn't originally have pitched it as.
Sure.
And we struggled with that script.
Yeah.
But we did find a way through that we felt worked well enough. But I don't think either of us felt like it was great.
Yeah, but no one involved felt like we had shit the bed on it either.
Right.
And, even the network seemed to appreciate and like the draft that we turned in. It was a first draft. If we had continued down the road with that movie, they would have had 4 more bites at that apple. If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
It was like a TV style contract.
It was a TV style. We'd done the outline. I think maybe we had a step or 2.
Oh, maybe we had 3 steps. Maybe we had 3 steps left. We had 2 rewrites and a polish left, but their mandate changed at the network, which happens all the time.
Sure.
And they were like, thank you so much for your work, but we'll never make this movie now because our bosses want to make other things. So we're going to release you from your contract, and then they pay you out.
Yeah.
But you're right, that was a real challenge. Now I will say, like, it felt like we were like
shoveling
dying
shit
inside as writers, shoveling shit. We worked over the holidays.
We did.
Really struggling. We were late in our delivery because we were like, look, and we actually were honest about it. We went to the producer, who then communicated to the studio network that we were going to be late. And we told them very clearly, we said, look, the first way we tried it didn't work. It wasn't working, and we don't want to deliver a script that's really bad.
Yeah.
So we would rather have more time.
I'd forgotten that. I'd completely forgotten
that. We just knew that what we had was crap. And we were like, we don't want to deliver this.
Yeah.
And so we asked for more time. In that case, I wish that we could have written a brilliant movie, but the direction that we had been pushed in was not in our style. It wasn't our kind of movie, and so we did our best.
And we had an interesting realization, didn't we? In that particular version was a body swap movie, essentially, and we focused in our version on the more adult of the characters, and they wanted to focus far more on the teen in high school version of that.
And it really was turned into a bit of a high school movie.
And we went, you know what? Our strengths don't lie in writing high school. I mean, I've never had the experience of American high school.
Yeah.
Let alone today.
I just have no interest in revisiting it.
No interest. You're totally right. Imagination. Totally. And we've learned. And since then, every time we've got on a project that looks like it's about high school age people, we've gone, if it's going to be about the school experience and about life during and in high school, that's not right for us. But anyway, that was the realization.
We pitched actually people on projects saying, if you want to go this way, cool. Our way would be this way.
Totally.
And we haven't gotten those jobs.
Yeah. It's not about the age of the people involved. It's about what are they experiencing?
What are they doing? Like, we're not like, let's write a scene with 2 kids in the halls and like they're by the locker and they're trying like, that's just not fucking stuff we have any interest in writing.
But bringing it back to our question here.
Yeah.
In that version, we found a way through.
We stuck it out.
We struggled with it.
Yeah.
We delivered something that no one thought was crap, but that we go, oh, it wasn't the best version. It wasn't
brilliant either.
But partly because the notes on what they wanted pushed us in.
Yeah, I mean, we were able to kind of justify it. But at the same time, like, we have to be honest with ourselves. If it was the most genius draft that anyone had ever read, they probably could have still pushed it forward at the network.
Yeah.
But it was a first draft also. So that's the other thing is like, when you're developing a pitch, your first draft isn't the movie that they're going to make. It's a first draft. And granted, they always say, producers will always tell you, well, you got to turn in a first draft. It's like a third draft. Like, you got to have it like really, really there.
Totally.
But like, there's a kind of unrealistic expectation of writers to like deliver their first draft with no studio notes and no, I mean, you usually do a producer pass in between, which we did, and we did our own rewrite beforehand, which we did. But like, who knows what that movie would have become had they come back to us and said, here's a full round of notes, now go do your rewrite.
Sure.
So,
I think the aspect of, if you're being paid for it, I think you need to have, and if you are truly, truly, truly stuck and you've gone to as many of your creative friends as you can use to talk things through, and you've spent a long time with it, and you really genuinely cannot find anything that really works, and then I think in that very rare situation, discretion being the better part of valor.
I mean, at least be honest with your producer.
Yes.
And say, I'm stuck. Because who knows, maybe they have the idea to get through.
Maybe they do, absolutely right. Or your manager, or your agent, or the guy who works at Starbucks. Whatever it is. Like,
the producer can always back channel with the studio and say, hey, they're really stuck on this part. They're trying to get through. It's not happening. It's not working. Should we have another creative meeting?
Sure.
I think dropping off a project is your absolutely very last possible thing.
Yes.
But I also would say, if you know something is total, absolute shit, which, come on, people, when it is.
When it is. Yeah, totally.
I don't think I'd deliver it. Because you risk never working for those people ever again.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And I know that like the dropping off a project could be hard, but we just had an experience where we dropped off a project. Granted, it wasn't a paid gig, but
it wasn't a paid gig.
Yeah. And we were in there with them and we had committed to do it, and we got stuck, and we were honest with them and we said, look, this isn't going to work for us. It's not our kind of movie. We thought we could get in. It's just not going to happen. And we were worried. We were like, God, they're never going to work with us again. And the reality is they will.
And they reached out to us recently and said, hey, do you want to do a thing?
Yeah, but versus had we delivered a horrible draft, then they go, ooh.
Oh, these guys. Yeah.
Maybe we thought they were good, but maybe like, only good sample. Like, I'd rather risk someone being disappointed than someone having a last perception of me as like an awful writer. But it's tough. I'm not saying that's an easy decision.
I know.
Totally. And I feel very thankful that every draft we have delivered, I've at least felt was solid.
Right.
Even if it wasn't.
Even if we didn't. Yeah, I agree.
It felt like it was. I always feel like we moved the ball forward. I think that's what they always are looking for, is forward movement. Like, even if it's not there, even if you're not delivering the draft that's like, oh, we're going to go shoot this. Is it better than what you originally discussed? Is it better than what they were potentially even thinking? Or is it even just a little bit better than the last draft?
Sure. Yeah, totally. And then when it comes to some of your own projects, where perhaps you're writing something on spec and you get stuck, again, I think constantly just kind of talking things through, approaching situations from different angles, going, how can I keep asking questions?
And it kind of goes to the question that we were talking about yesterday, though, doesn't it? When he was asking, like, at what point do you put a script down? And, your response to that was put it down, give yourself 3-6 months distance from it, because a distance can do wonders. And I agree with that. So it really just depends on like how long, like, yes, it's shoveling shit, but how long do you want to shovel shit? Like, like if it stays shoveling shit for too long and you're not getting paid and it is on spec, move on to the next thing. right? You know, like what Dave Madelon was talking about when we had him on, and he was like, I write 3 or 4 things at the same time, because if I get stuck on this one, I just switch over to that one.
Yeah, totally.
And then by the time I get stuck on that one, I've had some distance.
Figured it out. Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
So, you know, like, I think, like, yes, put the work in, struggle for a day or two, see if you can knock your head against the wall, and talk to your friends and talk to people and try and figure it out. But if you're writing a spec and you just are like, fuck, I don't know where to go with this, and it's been, I don't know, however long for you personally that you want to work, start writing a new spec.
Yeah, totally.
Start writing a new spec and then come back to it.
Yeah.
And come back to it with, you know, fresh creative eyes in a week, a month, 2 months, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Because sometimes those writer block moments, they're hard to get.
Yeah, that's it. And also I think it's what comes down to, isn't it? Is quote unquote writer's block. You know, are you disconnected? So again, it's like people have opinions about what writer's block is. You know, and there are, you know, many different opinions about it. For me, whenever I've been blocked with something, it's because of a connectivity issue. I don't feel connected to a project, to the characters, to the situation. There's not a pressing enough question that I'm trying to answer on the page. So again, it's why I kind of come down to this thing of just constantly keep asking questions. And again, it's what I think is useful about being in a partnership or a writer's group, is being able to do that. You know?
Right.
So
cool.
Anyway,